The sun hung lazily in the sky, casting a warm, golden glow over the pool. It was the kind of day you'd expect to see in a postcard, calm, serene, everything in its perfect place. The air was crisp, but not too hot, and the gentle hum of summer lingered in the atmosphere, making everything feel peaceful. I had been looking forward to this moment for weeks. The idea was simple: a few hours of relaxation by the pool, a chance to catch up with friends, and just let the world slip away for a while. Life had been hectic recently, and I'd been craving some time to unwind. It was a Saturday afternoon, the perfect time to escape from the grind of everyday life. As I approached the pool, something felt strange, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. The familiar hum of people chatting, kids splashing, the sound of laughter and summer joy, it was all missing. I looked around, squinting into the bright sunlight. There wasn't a soul in sight. The pool was completely empty. I blinked, trying to shake off the feeling of unease. Maybe I was early. Perhaps everyone was just running late. I pulled my towel from my bag, spreading it out near the edge of the pool. The water looked inviting. The blue shimmer danced in the sunlight, a beautiful sight, almost hypnotic in its stillness. It was the perfect temperature, cool but not cold. I could already feel the weight of the world slipping away as I dipped my toes in. But even as I began to unwind, a small twinge of discomfort lingered at the back of my mind. It was as if something was off, but I couldn't place it. The pool was supposed to be a peaceful place. I tried to brush it off. Who needs to overthink something as simple as a day at the pool? I closed my eyes, soaking in the calm, the quiet, until a sharp ping echoed from my phone. I sighed, pushing myself to my feet and grabbing the device. It was just a notification from my messaging app. I wasn't expecting any important messages, just the usual stuff. I glanced at it. The message was brief, strange. No name, just a number I didn't recognize. Your driver is running late by 5 minutes. It was an odd thing to say, especially when I was sitting by a pool in the middle of nowhere. I didn't need a driver, but I shrugged, dismissing it as a mistake or maybe some kind of spam message. My phone buzzed again almost immediately, the screen lighting up with a second notification. This time the message was short, cryptic. Kill one. I blinked. What did that even mean? I stared at the phone for a long moment, trying to process what I had just read. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly glanced around, feeling an odd sense of dread creeping up my spine. But the pool remained eerily quiet. The only sound was the faint splash of water as I kicked my feet in the shallow end. My mind raced. Was this some sort of prank? Maybe a joke, or, more likely, a weird glitch in some app I had downloaded. I tossed the phone aside, trying to laugh off my nerves. It wasn't like I didn't get strange messages from time to time. My friends loved messing with me, sending bizarre memes or jokes. But this felt different. I sat back down on my towel, determined not to let something as silly as a message ruin my day. But as I stared at the phone, waiting for the next notification to pop up, I realized that the strange feeling hadn't gone away. In fact, it had only grown stronger. The sun hung in the sky, still warm and inviting, but the stillness of the pool seemed unnerving. No one had shown up yet, and I found myself glancing over my shoulder every few minutes, hoping for something, anything, to break the silence. And then, another ping. It was the same number. This time the message simply read, "Kill two." I froze. The blood in my veins turned to ice. This wasn't funny anymore. It wasn't a joke, a glitch, or some weird coincidence. The messages were getting more direct, more ominous. I knew I should have ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. I tried calling the number, but there was no answer. just a long, drawn-out tone before the call disconnected. Panic crept up in my chest. Something wasn't right. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I suddenly felt as though I was being watched. I looked around once more. Still, no one was there. No sound. Nothing. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. What kind of person sends a message like this? Why was it happening to me? And most importantly, why was I here, completely alone at the pool? My heart pounded in my chest as I grabbed my towel, wrapping it around me. This wasn't fun anymore. I needed to leave. I looked around one last time, hoping I could see someone coming, someone who would explain all of this. But then, another message appeared. The screen lit up again, and this one was worse than the last. Kill 3. I swallowed hard, trying to breathe, trying to calm my racing thoughts. It felt like the air had suddenly become thicker, suffocating. I needed to leave. I had to get out of here. The phone buzzed again, and for a split second I hesitated. I didn't want to check it. Part of me was hoping it was just a random text from a friend, some random interruption. But I couldn't help myself. Curiosity had gotten the best of me, and I picked up the phone once more. It wasn't a name I recognized, just another string of numbers. But something about this message felt different. I took a deep breath and opened it. Your driver is running late by 5 minutes. I frowned. What was going on? It made no sense. My friends were supposed to meet me here, but no one was driving me anywhere. I wasn't expecting anyone at all, yet here was a message about a driver. I could feel my pulse quickening, that familiar sense of unease beginning to creep up on me again. But I brushed it off. It's just a mistake, I told myself. Nothing to worry about. I shoved the phone back into my bag and tried to push it from my mind, sinking back into my towel, hoping the warm sun would relax me. But then, the phone buzzed again. I opened it, this time with a sense of foreboding hanging over me. The message was short, sharp, with a chilling simplicity. Kill 1. The blood in my veins ran cold. My heart skipped a beat. My brain froze for a second as I stared at the screen. The message didn't make sense. Was it a prank? It felt like one of those creepy internet challenges that had gone viral a while ago. But something in the pit of my stomach told me this wasn't a game. It wasn't a joke. I looked around again. The pool was still empty. No one in sight. The sun beat down, relentless. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The feeling that someone was watching me. My fingers trembled as I held the phone, staring at the cryptic words. Kill 1. Who would send something like this? Who would do something like this? I laughed nervously, trying to shake off the fear, trying to rationalize the situation. Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe it was just some random spammer or prankster. But as much as I tried to convince myself it was nothing, I couldn't rid myself of the sinking feeling in my stomach. Who sent this? What does it mean? I tried to call back the number. The line rang for a long time, and my anxiety grew with every passing second. I could hear the connection, but no one picked up. Then, just as I was about to hang up, the call abruptly disconnected. I stared at the phone, my heart racing. The message was odd, cryptic, disturbing. I thought about calling my friends, but something inside me told me it would be useless. I already felt like I was on my own. For a moment, I wondered if I should leave. I could pack up and head home. But no, I was already here, already unsettled, and leaving now would only make things worse. I tried to shake off the paranoia, but the phone buzzed again. This time I didn't even look. The sick feeling in my stomach told me exactly what I'd find, but I couldn't help myself. Slowly I reached for the phone again and opened the new message. Kill 2. I stared at it for what felt like an eternity. No words, no explanation, Just two simple words that hit me like a ton of bricks. What was happening? Why was I getting these messages? Who was sending them? And why me? The feeling of being watched intensified. It was like the whole world around me had gone still, as if the very air itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. The pool was empty, and I was alone, but I couldn't shake the sense that someone, was waiting for me to act. I pushed the thought away, telling myself this was just a strange coincidence, some prank I had unwittingly become part of. It didn't make sense, but I was beginning to convince myself that maybe it didn't need to. Still, the sinking feeling remained. What happens when the numbers get higher? I sat there paralyzed by fear, unsure of what to do next. It was just a pool, just an afternoon. Why was I letting this ruin everything? Why was I letting some anonymous message mess with my head? But then, as if to punctuate my thoughts, the phone buzzed one more time. The new message made my stomach drop. Kill 3. My hands trembled as I stared at the screen, trying to process what was happening. Each message was getting darker, more ominous, and more direct. My breath came in short gasps as panic slowly began to creep in. This wasn't a prank. It couldn't be. I stood up, looking around one last time. There was nothing. No sign of life. No sign of anything unusual. Yet it felt as though something was closing in on me. Something malevolent. The messages were escalating, and I was alone in a pool that felt more like a trap than a retreat. The next message came in much too quickly. It buzzed, and I almost didn't want to look at it. But the terror was already creeping into my mind, and I couldn't help myself. It felt like something inside me was already preparing for the worst. I couldn't breathe. Kill 4. What did it mean? Why was I getting these messages? Who was doing this, and why me? The panic swirled in my chest as I stood there in the middle of the poolside, staring at the screen. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what was happening. Why was I getting these strange, cryptic messages? And why was the number increasing so quickly? I tried to call my friends again. I needed someone to talk to, someone to help me figure this out. The phone rang for a long time, but no one answered. I checked the time, hoping the call would go through soon. The messages were coming in faster than I could keep up with, each one more chilling than the last. Kill 5. Kill 6. I stood there frozen. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Kill 5. Kill 6. It was as if whoever was sending these messages had a plan for me, and I had no idea what was coming next. I glanced over at the pool, still empty, but the feeling in my gut told me something wasn't right. I couldn't explain it. It was like the air itself had thickened, like I was being watched. I kept telling myself to stay calm, but every part of me was screaming to leave. But where would I go? What was I running from? What if the messages had more meaning? What if I was about to become part of something much darker than I could comprehend? I stepped away from the pool, walking toward the edge of the fence. I tried to catch my breath, my phone still in my hand. Every second seemed to stretch on forever, like time itself had slowed down. I needed to leave. I needed to get out of there. But that's when I felt it. It was a subtle shift, barely noticeable at first, but I could feel it. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I turned slowly. There was something in the pool. I stared into the water, unable to move. Something was beneath the surface. I couldn't make out what it was, but I could feel it. The water was too still, too unnatural. I held my breath, waiting for something to happen, but nothing came. Then another message arrived. Kill 7. I looked down at my phone, almost expecting the screen to explode in front of me. My heart raced. The pattern was becoming too clear. The numbers were climbing, getting closer to whatever terrifying conclusion awaited me. And the worst part, I still didn't know what it meant. I heard something faint, a soft noise that seemed to be coming from the pool. I froze. The whispers. They started as low murmurs, just loud enough to make my skin crawl. But then the whispers grew louder, clearer. Kill 8. It felt like the ground beneath me had shifted. This wasn't just a prank anymore. This wasn't something I could walk away from. Someone, was playing a twisted game, and I was the unwitting player. I could feel my heart beating in my throat as panic set in. I tried to rationalize it again, thinking it had to be some kind of weird coincidence or mistake. But the air felt thicker now. Every breath was heavy, like the world around me was closing in. I couldn't stay here. I needed to find out what was happening. I needed to escape. But where would I go? Where could I hide from the things watching me? From the messages that felt like they were becoming a countdown. The phone buzzed again. Kill 9. The next message was different. It wasn't just another number. It was signed off with something I had not expected. Momo. The name hit me like a bolt of lightning. Momo? No, it couldn't be. Was this some sick joke? I had heard the name before, of course, but I never imagined I would be part of it, trapped in this nightmare. But there it was, Momo, the infamous twisted figure from countless legends, memes, and warnings. I stood frozen in place, my mind racing. Was this real? Was Momo really here? Or was this just someone playing a cruel trick on me? Whatever it was, it felt like I was about to step into something far darker than I could ever have imagined. I glanced at the pool again, feeling a deep chill run through me. The stillness of the water seemed unnatural, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for me to make a move. And then, the phone buzzed again. Kill 10. I had no time to process it. My legs moved before I could even think. I ran toward the gate, adrenaline coursing through my veins. But no matter how fast I moved, the feeling that something was closing in on me kept getting stronger. Something was chasing me, something that couldn't be outrun. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting in the water. The sensation gripped me like a vice, tightening around my chest and making it difficult to breathe. Every step I took felt like I was moving through thick, suffocating air. The world around me had shifted. What had started as a peaceful, normal day had turned into a nightmare, and I was in the thick of it. As I moved closer to the pool's edge, I couldn't help but glance back at the empty waters. The sun was still up, casting its golden glow over the surface of the pool. But there was something off about the way the light reflected on the water. It seemed almost too still, as though the pool itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I forced myself to stop and take a breath. It's just a pool, I told myself. Nothing's here. There's no reason to be afraid. But as soon as the thought crossed my mind, I felt a sharp chill run down my spine, and then I saw it. At first, it was barely a shadow in the deep end, just a fleeting glimpse that I might have imagined. But then it came into focus. Slowly. The figure was barely visible at first, just a silhouette, standing in the deepest part of the pool. I squinted, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The figure, it looked wrong. I couldn't quite make out the details. Its features seemed distorted, stretched. But one thing was clear. This wasn't a person, not a normal person. It had to be Momo. I wasn't sure how, but I knew it was her. I could feel it, deep in my bones. The twisted smile, the hollow eyes, the feeling of being watched from every angle. I stumbled backward, almost tripping over my own feet. My pulse was racing, my breath quickening, but I couldn't take my eyes off the figure in the pool. And then, as if on cue, the water rippled. The figure's head turned toward me. I felt my body freeze. Her eyes, those eyes, were locked on me, staring straight into my soul. Her smile stretched wider, impossibly wide, stretching past what should have been possible. It wasn't just a smile. It was a grotesque, chilling thing that seemed to go on forever. My blood ran cold, and the air around me seemed to thicken, suffocating me with every breath. I wanted to scream, but the words wouldn't come. I wanted to run, to escape, but my legs felt like they were made of stone. And then the message arrived. Kill 11. I glanced down at my phone, almost too scared to look. It felt like the screen was burning into my hands. The message felt like a threat now, a warning. There was no escaping it. My stomach churned. I took a step back, instinctively trying to put more distance between myself and the pool, but my eyes stayed glued to the water. I couldn't look away, even though every fiber of my being screamed at me to do so. But it wasn't just Momo in the water. Something was off, something I hadn't realized until now. The pool, the very water itself, felt alive. I could feel it in every ripple, in every movement of the water. It wasn't just a body in the pool. It was as if the water itself was waiting for something, watching. The air grew colder. My breath came in sharp gasps, each one a reminder that I had nowhere to run. There was something in the air now, something unnatural. It was like the house, the pool, the water. It was all alive, all aware. A deep, suffocating awareness that was closing in on me. I turned away from the pool, hoping that by walking away, I could escape it. But as I moved, I felt the ground beneath my feet shift. It was a subtle change, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to make me stop in my tracks. I looked over my shoulder again, and my blood ran cold. The figure in the pool had moved. No longer was it standing motionless in the deep end. It had come closer, much closer. It was no longer in the deep end. It was now hovering near the shallow end, right beneath the edge where I stood. I could see the water moving, rippling unnaturally as the figure shifted beneath the surface. Momo's face, a twisted mask of malice and terror, was now inches from me. Her eyes stared up at me from the water, her grotesque grin widening with each passing second. And then I heard the voice, the whisper. It came from the water, from Momo. "You're next." I wanted to scream, I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. It was as if the very air had thickened around me, paralyzing me with fear. The pool was no longer just a pool. It had become a trap, a twisted, cursed thing that had somehow taken on a life of its own. I was being drawn in, pulled towards the water by something far stronger than my will. Then came another message. Kill 12. I felt my legs give out beneath me, and I crumpled to the ground. The world seemed to spin, and for a moment, I didn't know if I was awake or if I had fallen into some kind of waking nightmare. But through it all, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't alone anymore. I never had been. Whatever was in that pool, whatever had been watching me, was here for me now. I needed to escape, but I didn't know if I could. I didn't know if I would ever leave this poolside alive. I tried to stand, my body shaking as I looked around the pool, but the whispers in the air seemed to surround me. It felt like the walls were closing in, like the entire world was closing in on me. The messages kept coming, each one worse than the last, each one more chilling than the last. Kill 13. Kill 14. Kill 15. My heart was racing, every beat a loud thud in my chest. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't breathe. Every time I checked my phone, it was like the countdown was accelerating. I was running out of time. I was running out of options. I glanced at the pool again, my head turning on its own. I didn't want to look. I knew what I would see. I could feel it deep in my gut, the dread that pulled me towards the water. But when I looked, there she was, Momo, standing at the edge of the pool. She wasn't in the water anymore. No, She was standing right there, watching me. Her twisted grin was even more grotesque up close. Her eyes were wide, bulging, almost too large for her face, and they were fixed on me, piercing through the darkness. The corners of her mouth turned up even further, stretching unnaturally. Her skin, pale and stretched tight over her bones, seemed to glisten under the dim light, like it was sickeningly alive. I tried to move, I tried to scream, I tried to run, but my body wouldn't cooperate. My legs were like lead, too heavy to lift, and my voice seemed stuck in my throat. It felt like the entire world was in slow motion, like time itself was warping, and I was trapped in it. I could see her stepping closer, her eyes never leaving mine, and I knew then, she wasn't here just to scare me. She was here for something more. "Kill 16, the next message came through. I could feel my phone buzzing in my hand, but I couldn't look away from Momo. I didn't know why I couldn't tear my eyes from hers. It was as if they were holding me in place, locking me into this horrible moment. I couldn't escape. There was no escape. And then I heard it. The final message. The one that would seal my fate. Bonus video. Kill 8, performed by Momo. I wanted to throw my phone away, throw it into the pool, into the darkness. But I couldn't. It felt like I was being drawn into a vortex, being sucked into her eyes, her smile, her presence. I tried to scream again, but no sound came. The world had grown still, and the only sound left was the slow drip of water echoing in the silence of my mind. And then, in the distance, I heard her voice, soft at first, but growing louder. "It's time." My skin crawled. My heart skipped a beat. I turned to run, but it was too late. Momo moved like lightning, her long, gnarled fingers reaching out toward me. In that moment, I realized how fast everything had been happening, how the world had slipped into madness without me even noticing. There was no escape. There was no way out. I ran. I ran with everything I had left, trying to escape her, but every step I took felt slower, heavier, like I was running through thick mud. My lungs burned. My legs gave out beneath me, but I couldn't stop, not when she was so close. I reached the exit, but the door was locked. The handles were broken, and no matter how hard I tried, it wouldn't budge. The panic inside me rose, clawing at my chest, choking me. But Momo wasn't stopping. She was right behind me. I could feel her breath on the back of my neck. Her smile grew wider. Her fingers were almost there. The last thing I remember was the sound of her laugh, low and guttural, echoing through the darkness. It sounded like the final toll of a bell. The last thing I heard before the lights went out completely was her voice. "It's time."